All right, good morning. How you all doing? Karibuni sana. Welcome to the Afriforex daily analysis, this beautiful 7th day of February 2025. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good time on the chats this week, yesterday. Hope you're having a good morning. But we're really glad that you could join us. Karibuni sana. So for the sake of guys who are new here, John Bogo is my name. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit. So we do have the rest of the team here. In case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them. Also, requests, comments, criticism, feel free to send them in on the chat box. We'll definitely take them into consideration. The team is here, but I will also be looking at those towards the very tail end of this session. But as always, you don't really need to wait until the very end. You still can end up sending them in even as we end up continuing on. And also for the guys who are going to be joining or more or less watching this rather much later on, even when you're not live, make sure that you do also end up leaving a comment. Also remember to like and subscribe. That does also end up helping our channel out. So we're going to jump straight into it. We'll start off by looking at the watch list, which is where we start every morning. So you can see the watch list today. So Friday the 7th of February 2025. So you can see a couple of changes on our watch list today. Hopefully you can end up taking note of them. You can see the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar have joined the buy side of things. So we'll see how things end up going on that front. And also the Swiss franc going from the buy side to the sell side. So we'll start off by looking at the currency pairs that we did have yesterday that unfortunately did not make it to our watch list today. So we'll start off with the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out right there, and also an illustration of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here, and I pointed out that we did need to see some sort of a price action signal or some interest of the sellers. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and you can see that the market broke to the upside, continued going up, came all the way till within this region here. And you can see that the sellers were still not interested with that price. And unfortunately, moving into today, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can end up getting any trading opportunities on that one. So the next one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, also trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions that I had pointed out, and also illustrations of what possibly to end up expecting before looking for any sells. Unfortunately, our expectations were not quite met. So you can see that we were within a buyer's region. The market bounced off this area to the upside. And when it came in within this region, you can see that there was really nothing in terms of the big boy sellers showing up. So fortunately, also on that one, there wasn't really much in terms of selling opportunities yesterday. So the next one is the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So this one, we're watching out also to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out, and also a game plan of what maybe to expect. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting maybe price to just tap in, maybe somewhere within this region to possibly end up getting some selling opportunities. But unfortunately, you can't see that the market did quite get within there. I guess maybe when these sellers showed up within here, the buyers really struggled to push the market to the upside. And I guess this price, maybe somewhere within here was good enough, and you can see that the market side to move to the downside. And when the market broke to the downside of this area, you can see that it pulled back in and held within here. But you did need to read the story of that on a smaller time frame. Of all the Swiss franc pairs, this one did actually move, but it's not really anything to do with the Swiss franc. Remember that there was some GBP interest rate decisions that were coming out yesterday, and they came out weak. So you'll see most of the GBPs have actually moved. So we shouldn't really give much credit to the Swiss franc on that one. It's everything to do with the GBP. So moving into the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're watching out for sells. Can't see the three areas right there. Also an illustration of what possibly to expect. So in the morning, price was here, coming just back up within this area here. And we're expecting maybe to see a sign of the big sellers showing up. But it seems that the market kind of turned off this area quite slowly, but also started to pick up some more steam much later on during the US session. Still ended up coming down as we expected. Maybe to get that trade, possibly did need to also end up reading that on a smaller time frame. But unfortunately, moving into today, not really a currency pair, but that we will be trying to see whether we can trade. So the next one is the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to also see whether we could have gotten sells. You can't see the three areas, also some sort of illustration of what to expect. So price was here. We're expecting maybe price to come back in within there. Unfortunately, also on this one, our expectations were not quite met. But consider the market continued to rally down very, very slowly. There was no sign of any big boy sellers. And you can see that within this region, the market really came into this region quite hard. But you can see that the buyers have also reacted. We're more or less within some sort of a buyer's region. But unfortunately, moving into today, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can trade. So moving on into the last set of currency pairs for review, we do have the euro pairs. So the euro against the Australian dollar. For this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So in the morning, price was somewhere here. And I did point out that we're expecting maybe price to come back in within this region and wait and see whether we could get, the big boy buyers showing up. Unfortunately, they did not. And you can see that the market broke to the downside of this region and held to the downside. And unfortunately, when that happened, there was definitely no trading opportunity for us. There were some Euro news events that came out yesterday. They came out positive. We're actually expecting to see Euro strength coming in. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but we'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully today, maybe the big boys might be interested. So last but not least, for review, we do have the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, yesterday, also watching out to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. And the morning price was somewhere here. I pointed out that it wasn't such a good area to look for the buys, and you clearly can't see why there were these sellers here. Can see that the sellers did actually push the market to the downside, but when the market came back in within this region, you can see that the buyers were also not quite interested. So something similar to what we've seen on the euro against the Australian dollar. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs that we did have yesterday that unfortunately did not make it to our watch list. So we can end up now looking at a couple of screenshots that we did get. So we'll start off with this one from Bravin. So shout out to you, Bravin. So I can't see that you got a buying opportunity on silver down within this region right here. Quite a bit of a tricky entry, but good to see that you got the buy when the market was down within this region, possibly on its way back up. When it started coming back in, I can't see that your stop loss is already above your point of entry or within your point of entry, which is good. And I know that this one has continued to go up. Hopefully, maybe today, especially considering the fact that we have the non-farm payroll, this one continues going up and you end up reaping some good reward out of it. But this is really good. Of course, very sniper entry on that one, but good to see that you also did manage the situation quite well. So shout out to you for that, Bravin, and of course, keep up the good work. So we also did get a screenshot. This one is from Dan Pickett. So this one is on the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So I can see that you've got some selling opportunities high up within there. Price was coming down. I can see that your take profits are here and your stop losses, I think, are somewhere within this region right here or within this area. So this is also quite good. Of course, this is on the 4-hour time frame. So I guess it's some sort of a swing trade. But of course, good in terms of entries. Can't see that the sellers are up high up within these regions right here and definitely targeting down within there, which is okay. So shout out to you for that. And of course, keep up the good work. So the next one is from George. So shout out to you, George. So you also got the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So I can see that you also got a selling opportunity on this one. So somewhere within this area right here coming down, you can see that you managed some of your trade within this region, stop loss already below your point of entry. Don't know where you're targeting, but hopefully you also did watch out for this area here. Definitely seems like an area that would definitely give you some sort of issue. So this is also well done. Interesting to also see that you're trading on the 10-minute time frame. So shout out to you for that, George, and keep up the good work. Always happy to see your screenshots. So we also did get a screenshot from my good friend Metrin. So this is on the US 30, the Dow Jones. So I can see that you got quite a number of selling opportunities as the market was coming down. Stop losses for all your trades within this region here, which is very good. Good to see that you got the sales high up there. Stop losses all bundled up together within one particular region. And hopefully did manage some of your trade within here. You can see that you have some sort of a red SNR there. So guess maybe that's a region that you are watching out for, but keep up the good work. That was really good. So shout out to you for that, Metrin. So last but not least, we did get some screenshots from Peter. So Peter, if you're here, shout out to you as well. So I can see that you got a selling opportunity on the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So high up there, market coming down, stop loss somewhere within that region there, and I can see that you're targeting down within here. The entry was spectacular, which was really good. And shout out to you for that. And of course, in terms of where you're targeting, maybe some sort of a support region that you're targeting down within there. And good to see that at least that you've already managed your trade. So shout out to you for that. And you also did get the buy. So I guess you possibly came down with it and went up. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. But I can see that you got the buy down within this region here. And of course, once the market started to move in your favor, I can see that your stop loss is already above your point of entry, just behind these bars who are pushing up, and I can see that your take profit is high up within that particular region right there. So seems like similar charts, different time frames. So one is on the 1 hour time frame, the other one is on the 15-minute, but nonetheless, it's good to see that you're winning in your trading and you're doing very, very well. So shout out to you for that, Peter. So shout out to Bravin, Dan Bickett, George, Metrine, Peter, keep up the good work. Remember, guys, if you do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are in the video description. Remember that it's not a competition. Embrace where you are. So even if your screenshots are not the best, we don't name and shame, but we'll definitely give you the much needed advice. And, we're happy to see your progress. So feel free to send them in to us. Also, feel free to use us as some sort of a free resource, and we'll give you the much needed advice so that your trading will definitely go to the next level. So shifting gears once again into matters today. So you can see the watch list right there. So the 7th of February, 2025, this is what we're going to be watching out for. So we're going to start off with the yen pairs, move on to the euro pairs, and mix and match them up with the sales, move on to the Australian dollar pairs, the New Zealand dollar pairs, and finish off with the indices and the commodities. So the first one off the line, the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas right there that I had pointed out, and also an illustration of what possibly to end up expecting. So price was somewhere here. We're expecting some sort of a pullback to come in. So expecting really to see the pullback coming within here. But it seems that there was some sort of a seller's region within this area that I guess the price was good enough. And you can see that the market just turned off that area and started its journey coming down, broke to the downside, some slight pullback, just coming back in within that region. And you can see that the sellers continued with their journey coming down. So today, we're still going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. Let's see what does end up happening. So these are the three areas that we've mapped out to watch out for. So hopefully we'll get the market pulling back in somewhere as close as possible within here. And if we don't get a sign of the sellers, then we'll be waiting for price higher up. But you can see that the buyers have already started reacting. This is a major reaction. So there's a possibility you could find the market maybe coming back in, hopefully, within this region here. And maybe we might end up using these sellers right here to maybe end up getting some good selling opportunities. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the top. In case the market comes in within that region and breaks above that area, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. But also make sure that you really watch out for that region at the top, especially considering the fact that we have the non-farm payroll today. It's very easy to find the market spiking. Maybe you could find the market even tapping within that region before coming down. So just make sure that you really do keep a keen eye on that. So the next one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday, we're also trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see what the game plan was. Yesterday, price was somewhere here. We're expecting to get the pullback coming in at least somewhere within this region here, but consider the buyers really struggled to push the market to the upside. It broke to the downside, and you can see that it also pulled back within this region. And then after that, the market continued to move to the downside. So let's see if we can get something clear on this one today. So these are the three areas that we're going to be watching out for. So potential areas in terms of entry and also money management. So make sure that you do watch out for them. You can also see on this one, the bars have already started pushing to the upside or within some sort of a support region within this area. So you don't really want to be getting your selling opportunities too close within this area. At least if the market can come back up and the buyers can potentially end up putting one more push to the upside, then if the market and price falls back squarely somewhere within this area, at least we could potentially try and see whether we can use those sellers to get some good selling opportunities coming down. So watch out for that. Watch out for the times as well. Like we always keep on pointing out, 11, 4 and 5:30. Potentially you could find some good trading opportunities within those times. So make sure that you watch out for that as well. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, you can't see what the game plan was as well. So price was here. We're expecting maybe to just get the pullback coming in within this region here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but you can see that the market came down, broke to the downside, tapped back within this region here. And after that, you can see that the market continued moving down quite aggressively. But also remember, there was some Great British Pound interest rate decisions that were coming out or being released yesterday. And I guess that played a major part in terms of this one moving, because you will see that, I mean, of all the yen pairs, this one is the one that has really moved the most. So this one moved quite far, but it's also found some sort of a support region down here. You can't see the buyers are reacting within this area right here. So something similar with what we've seen with the rest of the yens that we've looked at, which tells you that there's some very good correlation that's happening. Hopefully when the pullback comes in, the pullback will also come in on the rest of them. So could find that when they start to make a move, potentially they will all end up making a move together at the same time. So make sure that you really also do watch out for that. So let's see if we can get the buyers pushing the price up. There's this region right here that we'll be watching out for, but there's also this area right here that we do have a handful of sellers. You can see that the market pushed to the downside of this region. So, I mean, if we get the price at least somewhere within this area here, I think this might potentially be a good region to look for the selling opportunities. So let's watch out for that. Be very careful when you're looking for sales down here. Unless the market really breaks to the downside quite aggressively, maybe pulls back slowly within this area, then maybe we could potentially try and see whether we could get some selling opportunities, but it's also might be high risk, especially considering the fact that there is this probe right here. You can see the reaction of the buyers. That tells us that generally within this area, there are a bunch of buyers. So just make sure that you really do watch out for that, but let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully the market gives us a good pullback, maybe to the semi-aggressive conservative region. I think the sales of that region might be much, much better, or possibly end up containing lesser risk. Let me put it that way. So moving on into the next one. This is the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So this is a new entrant on our watch list. These are the three areas we will be watching out for to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So you can see the buyers have stepped up within this area quite aggressively. So and the sellers are now fighting to retaliate. So we'll need to see more of the story of what happens here, because the way that buyer stepped in within there, there's a possibility they might attempt to break to the upside. But if their breach is unsuccessful and the sellers are able to retaliate and they get pushed back within this area and we get a hold within here, I think we could potentially try and see whether we could get selling opportunities of that area to come down. So watch out for that, but also watch out for the region at the top right there. I mean, if these buyers do end up showing up and these sellers are overwhelmed, then there's a possibility we could find price coming back in within this region right here. So make sure that you also do watch out for that. But remembering that that region at the top, that's going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our aggressive selling opportunities. So that's pretty much it in terms of the yen pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the euro pairs. Mix and match them up with everything on the sell side. So we'll start off with the euro against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out. We're expecting price to come back in within this region here, maybe get a breach to the downside, the market coming back in, then maybe seeing a sign of the big buyers showing up and maybe the hold. So to some extent, it seems to be doing what we were thinking it would do, because you can see that the market came down, broke within here, the buyers have showed up, and right now the market is seeming like it's struggling, but at least holding within this area. And if you look at the reaction of the seller, this seller, the previous time, they came down quite aggressively. So right now, when the market has come back within this area, if you look at how they are reacting, you can see that there's a slower reaction, which is exactly what we want to see. So maybe we could find the market lifting off this region today. Yesterday, unfortunately, that didn't happen. So the game plan for this one still remains the same. The levels are the same. Price hasn't really moved anywhere. So let's see if we can potentially end up getting the market moving off this region here. Maybe during the London market open, we could find the market possibly lifting to the upside. So you could watch out for that region right there. You could target there, but also watch out for this region here. At least if we do end up taking out this level quite fast, then that's good. Especially if the market holds to the upside of this area, I think we should be good to go. Potentially, I think we could end up going all the way to the top. So make sure that you watch out for that level there. For those of you that are really good at trading and you're experts, you could potentially end up trying to see whether you could get, an additional entry within this region on the pullback. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the bottom right there, especially considering the fact that we have the NFP today. You could find the market spiking all the way to within there, especially if it doesn't lift during the London market open. So let's just watch out and see what does end up happening. So the next currency pair is the euro against the Canadian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're also trying to see whether we could have gotten buys. You can't see what the game plan was on this one. I pointed out that it wasn't a good time to look for the buys high up within there or within some sort of a resistance area. You can't see that the sellers reacted, pushed the market down. Price came back in within this region, but unfortunately, we just couldn't get the buyers to react. So let's see if maybe the big boys are going to be interested today. So these are the three areas that we still have from yesterday, because you can also see that this one has not really gone anywhere. So hopefully the buyers will end up showing up. Maybe this could be a sign of them maybe starting to show up, but it's not fully convincing. So let's see, maybe during the London market open, if we'll get the market potentially taking off in this area right here. You could target high up there, but make sure that you also watch out for this region here. You could potentially run into issues with the opposite party somewhere within there. In case the market breaks and holds beneath the red SNR to the downside, then unfortunately we'll have to fall back in terms of looking for the buying opportunities. So the next euro pair is the euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one, also a currency pair we had yesterday, trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas and what the game plan was. This one moved, not like the rest of the euros, but once again, nothing much to do with the euro. This one has everything to do with the Great British Pound, and it's showing its weakness after the interest rate decisions came out weak. So we're expecting price to possibly break above here, pull back, and then maybe take off to the upside. It did that, although that detail right there did need to be read on a smaller time frame. And you can see that more or less all through the London session, the market went up, then it pulled back during the US session. So let's see if maybe the market might lift off this region right here today. So these are the three areas for today. We have adjusted them. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. Let's see if maybe during the London session, we'll get the market maybe lifting off this region right here to the upside. If that does end up happening, then I think we could be in for a good buy, but make sure that you watch out for the region at the top. You can see that the buyers stepped in within that region quite aggressive, but the sellers were also able to retaliate. So they can also end up retaliating once again. So make sure that you really do watch out for that region right there, but also watch out for this region at the bottom. In case we get a much deeper pullback, then we should also be ready for that as well. So the next and the last euro pair is the euro against the Swiss franc. So this one is a new entrant on our watch list, and we'll be trying to see whether we can end up getting some buying opportunities on this one. These are the three areas that we will be watching out for. So right now the market has just tapped, and this was during the Asian session. The market tapped within that area there. It's definitely a region where we do have some sellers. You can see that the sellers are starting to retaliate. Let's see how far they can end up pushing the market down. Maybe it might come back in within this region here, but really hoping that price comes back somewhere at least within this region right here, because this is also a level that's quite significant, especially when you're looking at the story on the bigger time frame. So if price comes back in within here, I think we could be in for a very good buy off this area right here to move to the upside. But also watch out for this region at the top. I mean, in case the sellers are just not quite interested and we get a breach to the upside on the pullback, we could be in for a buy somewhere within this region, some sort of semi-aggressive or more conservative, let me put it that way, entry within that area there. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. Let's see what happens. You also can't find price coming back in within this region. It's not impossible. So in case price finds its way there, then also make sure that you're also ready for that. So that's pretty much it for the euro pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the AUD pairs and do the same, mix and match them up with everything on the sell side. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So this one is a new entrant on our watch list. So these are the three areas that we will be watching out to see whether we can get entries, and also levels where potentially we could end up targeting if we do get entries, and areas where we can end up doing some money management. So make sure that you do watch out for them. Right now, the market is high up within this region. So it's either the market breaks above here, pulls back, and then we could try and see whether we could get some buying opportunities. But let's give these sellers the benefit of doubt. You know, they have reacted before. You can't see that price has stopped there. They're starting to give some sort of a reaction, not a major one, but at least you could find even price coming back in, even somewhere within this area right here, even if it doesn't come back in within this region. But generally, you want to get your buys somewhere as close as possible within this quarter right here. So let's see if we could end up getting that to happen. If that doesn't happen, then we'll have to wait and see whether we can get a breach to the upside of that region to look for other more conservative buying opportunities. So make sure that you watch out for that. And no matter what you do, make sure that you always do watch out for your risk. So the next Australian dollar pair is the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, also a new entrant on our watch list. These are the three regions that we've mapped out potentially to end up targeting and also look for entries. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. Right now, the market is also within some sort of a seller's region there. You can see that the sellers have reacted off this area before. So we'll just give them the benefit of doubt. But in case they do end up getting overwhelmed and we get the market breaking to the upside, then I think on the pullback, we could try and see whether we could get some selling opportunities there. But right now, let's wait and see. Maybe you could get the price coming back in here. That is also some sort of a minor scenario within this region here. So let's see at least if the sellers can push the market back at least as close as possible within here, if not here. And maybe if you look for the buys here, you definitely will need to manage your trade within that area, because you can't see that the market potentially might end up getting some sort of a range of this area right here coming up. So make sure that you watch out for that. Also watch out for the red SNR in case the market breaks that region to the downside and holds beneath it. Then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So moving on into the next Australian dollar pair, this is the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So for this one, also a new entrant on our watch list, we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one. For the sake of guys who are new to trading and how we go about it on the charts, for this one, we're looking for sells. The rest are looking for buys. Bear in mind that the Australian dollar, on the first two that we were looking at, was on the left. So it's the base currency pair, the basis of what we're doing. On this one, it's on the right. So it's the counter currency pair. So by buying, by selling rather, the Great British Pound automatically and simultaneously, we're buying the Australian dollar, which is exactly what we should be doing. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, let's see if we could get the market pulling back at least till somewhere as close as possible within here. If we do get that, I think some good selling opportunities might happen off this area here. Of course, we will need to see that slowdown of the buyers, the aggressive sellers showing up, watching out for the times. I mean, if we get the pullback happening during the London session, maybe during the US session, the market might be primed to actually end up giving us some good selling opportunity off that region to come down. So let's watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the top. Bit of a long shot, but like I always say, it's better to have something and not need it rather than need something and not have it. Because if price finds its way there and you're not ready, you could easily end up missing out on that opportunity. So last but not least, for the AUDs, this is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions that we're watching out for, also an illustration of what we were expecting. So price was here, we're expecting the pullback to happen. The pullback did happen. The sellers did not show up like we expected. You can see that the price broke above this region and actually held above this area to the upside and continued moving away. And at that point in time, there was definitely no selling opportunity for us. So for this one for today, these are the three areas we will be watching out for, and we will be going the other way. So we're going to be watching out for buying opportunities. The market has started to give some sort of a pullback. Let's just hope that this pullback will be coming back in somewhere as close as possible within here. If that does end up happening, I think there could be some good buying opportunities within this area, definitely targeting that region high up within there. So let's see what happens, but also watch out for the region at the bottom right here, which is going to be our last area where we will be watching out for aggressive buying opportunities. So last but not least, we're going to move on to the New Zealand dollar pairs. So we're going to do the same mix and match them up with everything on the sell side. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So this one is a new entrant on our watch list. We will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on this one. You can see that the pullback has already started to happen, which is good. So let's see how far those sellers can actually end up going. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So this is an area of interest within here. And we'll really be watching out to see what happens based on what we're seeing on the USDs. Quite a number of them are giving pullbacks. This one seems similar to the Australian dollar against the US dollar, and also to some extent the euro against the US dollar. Let's see what happens, but the pullbacks are happening. But I think the best buying opportunities are definitely somewhere within this region. So I'll set an alert there. Let's see if we can get price coming back in within here. Hopefully, if it does end up setting up nicely, watching out for the times, I think we might be in for a very good buy to lift the upside. But also watch out for this region at the bottom right here. There's a possibility price can also tap back in all the way to within that area, especially considering the fact that we do have the non-farm payroll today. So we'll see what ends up happening on that one. But also remember to watch out for your risk. If you're careless today, there's a possibility you will be sent packing. So just make sure that you also do have that and bear that at the back of your mind. So the next New Zealand dollar pair, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So this is also a new entrant on our watch list. We will be watching out for buying opportunities. These are the three areas we've mapped out. During the Asian session, you can see that the big boy bars have started to show up, which is good. The market has come back in within a seller's region. The sellers are retaliating quite slowly, which is exactly what we want to see. At least let's see if they can at least push the market somewhere as close as possible within this region. I mean, even if price doesn't get all the way till within the red SNR, but at least comes in within this region right here, I think this might be a good area to look for the buy, so that at least when the market starts to come up, even if you get issues somewhere within here, even if you can't get high up there, at least you will have sufficient room, one, to manage your trade, and also to end up coming out with something good. You can also end up keeping your stop losses tight, because remember that even if you hit the buys here, the safest area to still have your stop losses are down within this region, because if you have your stops anywhere within here, you could easily end up getting stopped out, and then the market could actually end up making a move. So let's see what happens on this one. But this one seems to be setting up quite nicely. So maybe I think the NZD pairs might be the ones to watch out for. I think they might be the performers today, but we'll have to wait and see. But so far, based on what things are looking like, they seem to be setting up quite nicely. So moving on into the next NZD pair. So this is the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, we're going to be watching out for selling opportunities. So you can see that this one came down quite aggressive yesterday. Definitely something to do with those GBP interest rate decisions yesterday. Right now, the market is on the pullback, which is good. Let's see if we can get the market pulling back somewhere as close as possible within this area here. Hopefully inside some buyers, especially if we get the market breaching, maybe tapping within that seller's region there. Maybe those sellers do end up reacting. We get the market getting pushed back to the downside. I think at that point in time, we can get some very, very good selling opportunities within there. And hopefully these sellers do react like they did yesterday. I guess it's more or less almost guaranteed we will get price coming back in within this region, if not lower. So let's see what happens on this one, but also watch out for the region at the top. If these sellers are non-committal and they don't end up doing anything, then I guess there's a possibility we could get the price, maybe looking for a much better price, and that much better price will be somewhere within this area right here. So make sure that you watch out for that, but also remembering that that region is going to be the last area where we will be attempting our aggressive selling opportunities. So last but not least, for the currency pairs, we do have the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can't see what the game plan was. And unfortunately, our expectations were not quite met because the sellers did not really show up. So price was here. I pointed out that it wasn't a good time to look for the sells unless price broke beneath. It did not, because you can't see that there were some buyers here, and you can't see that the buyers retaliated during the London market open. Price was within a support region. It's not surprising to see that the market actually came back up, but you can see that the market continued coming up, came back within here, but there was really nothing. And today during the Asian session, you can see that the price has actually broken to the upside. So I guess quite a lot of weakness that's coming in on the CHFs. And of course, that's the reason why we've switched it up on the watch list for today, because it definitely seems that the big boys are not interested in buying the Swiss franc like we initially thought. So that's the reason why we've changed the game plan. So for this one, these are the three areas. The market has tapped in within this region. Let's see what does end up happening. You can't see a reaction starting to happen. Hopefully, we get the sellers continuing to push the market to the downside. Maybe they might just come back in within this region here. We'll have to wait and see. But of course, if the pullback comes in deeper, then hopefully we will be attempting to get the buying opportunities potentially somewhere within here. So let's wait and see whether that will end up being the case. But also watch out for this region. You can't see that there's been a push of the buyers to the upside. Maybe if the sellers come in within this region and they're unable to actually end up reaching to the downside, you could potentially also end up getting some buying opportunities within this region right here. And if you're highly skilled and advanced in trading, you definitely should be able to get that trade. So watch out for that. Alternatively, in case the pullback doesn't happen and let's say the buyers continue with their rampage, moving to the upside, then we'll definitely have to end up waiting for the breach to the upside. If that does end up happening, then we'll have to end up waiting for the pullback before we do look for that conservative buying opportunity. So watch out for that. Also remember the region at the bottom. It's a bit of a long shot, but in case price finds its way there, then we should also be ready for that. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. We've mixed and matched up everything on that front. So we're going to be moving on to the indices and the commodities. You can't see that there's no change on that. But you will find that maybe today there will be quite a lot of movement. In fact, just looking at the economic calendar, you can see that there are quite a number of news events. Some have already happened. We already factored them into our analysis for today. Moving into the London session, you can see that there will be some GBP news events coming up in a bit, some Euro news events as well, some CHF. So I guess today things are really going to be moving. And of course, moving into the US session, you can't see the NFP there, which is the more or less the mother of all news events. So I guess we will end up seeing a lot of activity on the US currency pairs and also on the indices and the commodities. So make sure that you really do watch out for that, but also make sure that you really do watch out for your risk. Like I pointed out, if you do end up mismanaging the situation or greed gets you and you mismanage your risk and everything, you could easily end up getting sent home and you'll have to look for money over the weekend so that on Monday you're back to trading. So jumping into the US 100 or the NAS 100. So for this one yesterday, the bias was to try see whether we could get some buying opportunities. You can clearly see the three areas right there that I had pointed out. In the morning, price was here. We're expecting the pullback to happen, maybe back till somewhere within here. The pullback came in, unfortunately, just couldn't come back in all the way till within here. I guess this price was good enough for the buyers because you can see that the market tapped within this region twice and still pushed to the upside. So for this one for today, the levels are the same. You clearly can see that price has not really gone far and beyond the regions that had been pointed out yesterday. So the game plan still remains. Right now, we're within some sort of a resistance area. The market seems to have kind of breached to the upside, but we'll need to see more of the story, especially now the sellers coming in. If the market continues to hover around here, it might actually not end up being a very good idea to actually jump in on those buying opportunities because it could easily end up being a trap whereby the market just hangs around within here. Lots of people see that support is holding only for them to actually end up getting stopped out and the market comes down to the downside. So at least if we do wait for that, then the market comes up, especially after all the guys who are entering or going to be entering the buys within there get stopped out because they'll definitely be putting their stop losses within here. So once they get stopped out and the market comes up and holds within here, that's the trade that you should be looking out for. So if you get the buy after that or somewhere within this region after this, you potentially will end up winning on that trade. So let's see what happens on this one. But the way the market seems to be holding within there, I wouldn't be surprised to see the market come down, stop out quite a number of people. Of course, when the market starts to make lower lows and lower highs, as it's breaching more and more levels to the downside, more and more people are going to start chasing the market in that direction. So by the time price comes back in within here, no one is really going to be thinking about buys anymore. And that's when the buy is actually going to take off. So let's see what happens on this one. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. In case price comes in within that area, then at least we should also be ready for that as well. But remembering that for as long as we're holding above the red SNR, the buyers should be to try and see whether we can get buying opportunities. So moving on into the next one, which is the US 30 or the Dow Jones. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. Similar situation with today. So you can't see the three areas that I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. It was either the market to break and hold above, and you can see that the market broke, attempted to go up, but came down, and unfortunately, you can't see that it held to the downside of this region. So this ended up being a probe to the upside, and it's not surprising to see that the sellers did actually end up reacting off that region. If you look at the times, that was at exactly 5:30. So like we keep on pointing out, it's very important to know and see and identify where is the market, especially during the market opening times. If the market is within a support region, there's a high possibility. It's not given because it's not a sure bet type of thing, but there's a high probability because in trading we work with probabilities. There's a high probability the market will be pushing itself off a region of support or a region of resistance, depending on where the market is at the times. So you can see like right now, we're approaching the London market open. Some sort of probes and wicks are happening within here. So considering the fact that we're within a support region, it wouldn't be surprising to see the market push itself off this area here during the London market open. So let's wait and see if that does end up being the case. Of course, if we don't get the big lift happening during the London session, then I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens maybe during the US session. But also watch out for what happens within this area, because you could find that the buyers could push up, but they're unable to sustain price above here. If that ends up being the case and the market comes back down, then there's a possibility price will be coming back within this region right here. So you could find that maybe if the market ends up coming down within this region, maybe at around 435, if price is back within this region, maybe that's when you find the buy possibly taking off to the upside. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. So moving on into the next one, which is silver. So for silver, also watching out for buys. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out yesterday, also an illustration of what to expect. So in the morning, price was somewhere here. I pointed out it was a horrible idea to look for buying opportunities there. You clearly can't see why. The sellers did actually end up reacting off there. Price came down quite aggressively. It felt like a pile of bricks. So you can see that the market came down, bounced off here, then attempted to go to the upside. Then it seemed like it was taking off. Actually got stopped out on a trade on this one, somewhere within this region. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the next entry. But when I saw the market do this, then it came back up, then came down within this region. I attempted the buy and I got the buy and I got to move with this move going up. And as the market was moving up, I thought that the price was actually going to tap somewhere within here. So I had the alert set somewhere within this region right here. So at one point in time, I thought price was actually going to get there. And I was busy doing other things, so I left it. And then after some time, I was wondering, why is it that the alert is not going off? Because I saw how the buyers were coming in, only to find that I just got stopped out when the market came back in within here. And unfortunately, I couldn't get this entry somewhere within here. But it's good to see that Bravin, you did actually end up getting the buy, and it seems that the buyers are still continuing to push the market to the upside. Maybe I'll have to sit down with you. Maybe you'll have to give me a couple of lessons on how to trade silver. So for today, the market and the levels are the same. So in as much and despite everything that happened yesterday, the major fights that were going on within here, because you can see that the sellers were showing up quite aggressive. The buyers were also showing up quite aggressive, but the buyer still remains to the upside. So these are the three areas that we will be watching out for. In terms of looking for buying opportunities, don't look for buys now. Of course, unless you got the buys down here like Bravin and company, you shouldn't really be looking for the buys now, because we're more or less getting into regions where we could run into the opposite party. So it's better to possibly wait and see if we can get the market breaking and holding above this region to the upside. If that doesn't end up happening, then I guess we'll have to end up waiting to see whether we can get the pullback coming back in within here. And it can, especially considering the fact that you have the non-farm payroll, and you'll find that maybe the buys might happen off there. You could find maybe even a spike happening, maybe price coming back in within here, because I think there are quite a number of strategic areas within this area that the price might actually end up, or the big boys might actually end up needing before pushing the market to the upside. So let's see what happens on this one. So I hope you've taken note of that, but also remember to watch out for the region at the bottom right there. So last but not least, we do have gold. So for gold, yesterday the bus was to try and see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. The levels are the same as what we do have, as what we had yesterday rather. So in the morning, price was somewhere here. I pointed out that it's best to wait and see whether we could get the pullback. Maybe the market might probe within this region here and potentially end up getting a very good buying opportunity coming up. So when the price did actually end up coming down, came back in within this region, I got this buy going up. So this one was at a similar time as when I got the silver trade, but at least this one got high up within this, somewhere within this region right here. So I did get the buy, and at least I did end up managing the trade within that region before the price did actually end up coming down, which was good. So this one at least did end up covering the loss that I did end up making on silver. So when price came up, tapped somewhere within here, I set the alert. You can't even see the notification at the top right there from Trading View. So immediately got that alert, came on to or went on to my screen, and you can't see, put the stop loss at break even, manage the trade, and a good amount of it there because I was really skeptical about those sellers right there. But I was also watching out for this region right here, and you can't see that the sellers within that region really reacted. So unfortunately, I couldn't get all the way till the top. It's the nature of trading. You know, like we always say, managing the trades is actually the most essential part of trading. Many people look out for entries, but they forget that trade, money management is actually key, especially when the market gives you some money. It's your job to actually make sure that you keep it. So it's a bit unfortunate I got hit on silver, but it's good to see that I did recover on gold, and that's the nature of trading. So for this one, for today, these are the three areas we will be watching out for. The game plan is the same. You can see the sellers really came down quite aggressively. I think maybe it had something to do with the initial jobless claims that were coming out yesterday. Possibly ended up giving some sort of a reaction. The market came down just up within here, definitely incited a lot of people to look for selling opportunities. And after that, you can see that the market turned around, came back in, and right now it's back in within this region right here where it was early yesterday. So let's see what happens. The pullback is happening. Let's see if we can get some sort of a slowdown of the sellers within this area here. Maybe during the London session, we could find the market moving. If not, then it means that the big boys will be laying low, and they'll possibly just be waiting to see what happens. It could be the calm before the storm. Then when the non-farm payroll comes in, then all hell is going to break loose. And it wouldn't be surprising to also see the market spike down all the way till within these regions right here, because there are a number of regions or levels right here that might also be strategic for the big boys. So let's see what happens, but patience is definitely key, and also watching out for your risk is also very, very, very important. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So hopefully you've taken note of that, and also the very many other stories that I've given you alongside. So I guess you can end up looking at the chat box to see what guys are saying. So I see a bit of chit chat going on there. So I see Dan Bickett there saying, morning Afriforex team, morning Dan Bickett, good to see you, and also good to see your trades. Keep up the good work. I see Njoki, Givu, you're saying good morning. Karibu sana Njoki. I see Lucy Njoroge, you're saying good morning back to you as well, and good to have you here as well. So I'm not seeing any questions, which is okay. I guess everything is clear, but like we always say, in case anything is not, at least you do have the YouTube recording at your disposal, so you can end up making use of that. Also remember to give us a like and a subscribe. That does also end up helping out our channel. So I guess we'll see you guys on Monday. So do have a lovely day on the charts. Remember to watch out for the NFP, and of course remember, if you do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. We'd be more than happy to see them. If you need more education in terms of trading, also feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details should be there in the video description, and we'll see how best we can end up helping you. So do have a lovely weekend. Hope to see you guys on Monday morning at 9 a.m. So with that, happy trading, guys. God bless, and bye for now. May the peeps be with you.